All right, so financial freedom. It's something we hear all the time, but what's it really mean? Like, is it even possible for most of us?
Yeah, it's a question I think a lot of people have. Like, you're working, saving, but sometimes it just feels like you're getting nowhere.
Right, exactly. Like the old advice, good job, save every penny, retire at 65.
Yeah.
But what if that's not how it works anymore?
Things have changed, for sure.
And that's where our deep dive gets interesting today, right? We're looking at Financial Freedom, a book by Grant Sabatier. His story is pretty wild. He went from like $2.26 in his bank account to $1 million in 5 years.
5 years?
Guy.
That's incredible. And what's really amazing is that he wasn't like some financial expert or anything. He was a regular millennial dude living with his parents after a job layoff, basically rock bottom.
Yeah, he was 24, sending out resumes like crazy, feeling totally lost, and then checks his bank account, $2.26.
Oof, talk about a wake-up call.
Yeah, big time. And he realized he didn't want to spend the next 40 years just grinding away at some job he hated, barely scraping by. He wanted something different. So, sets this goal, almost crazy, save $1 million and retire ASAP.
Wow. So that's where things take off.
Totally. That's when he starts like researching, trying things out, questioning everything he thought he knew about money. And this whole experience really led him to challenge like all that traditional financial advice. And what I think is so cool about his book, it's not about like being super strict or denying yourself everything.
But that's not about deprivation.
It's about having the power, taking control of your money and making a life you actually want.
Absolutely. And he's got this like framework, 7 steps, he calls it, to get you there.
Okay, so let's break it down. First step, figure out your number. Not just some random amount, but the amount that will actually give you financial freedom.
Yeah. It's about what freedom means to you. Is traveling, starting your own thing, spending more time with family, figure out what that looks like, and then how much it'll cost to make it happen.
I love that. It's like personal, not just some generic advice everyone gets.
Yeah.
So you've got your number. Then step 2 is about seeing where you're at right now, calculating your net worth.
Right. And this is where a lot of people, I think they get tripped up. Net worth, it's not just what's in your checking account. It's bigger than that.
It's more than just income.
Way more. It's like a snapshot of your whole financial situation. You add up all your assets like savings, investments, maybe even your car or house if you own one. And then you subtract any debts you have. Loans, credit cards, that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. So more assets than debts, you're in good shape.
Pretty much. And by doing this, by calculating it, you get this clear picture of where you're at financially. Helps you see your progress and make smart decisions, like how to reach those goals you set.
Okay, that makes sense. So you know your freedom number, you know your net worth. What's next?
Now it gets interesting. Step 3, it's about like totally changing how you think about money. Grant says your mindset, it's just as important as any strategy you could use.
So it's not just the numbers, but your whole relationship with money.
Exactly. He's got some pretty different ideas about this. Like, he wants you to see money as a tool for freedom, not just security or buying stuff. And he talks about how the way we think about money, like our beliefs about it, can hold us back.
Yeah, I get that. Like those subconscious things, I'll never be rich or I'm bad with money. You might not even realize how much those thoughts are like messing with your choices.
It's huge though, just becoming aware of those beliefs and then starting to challenge them. Once you change your mindset, your actions change too.
Makes sense. Okay, so mindset's key. But what about the practical stuff? What does Grant actually say to do to reach this financial freedom?
Well, step 4, and this might surprise you, he says, stop budgeting.
Wait, hold on. Stop budgeting. Isn't that like the first thing everyone tells you about money? You're saying, ditch the budget. I'm listening, but I'm also a little freaked out.
I know, right? Sounds kind of crazy. But he makes this point. Traditional budgets, they can make you focus on what you can't afford instead of what you can.
So if I'm not budgeting, then what? Just spend whatever I want. I need a little more direction here.
He's definitely not saying go wild with spending. Instead of getting hung up on every tiny purchase, he wants you to look at your savings rate. Like, what percentage of your income are you putting away each month?
So it's the big picture, not the little details of every coffee or lunch.
Exactly. He thinks focusing on that savings rate is way more effective for building wealth over time.
So it's like changing your thinking from scarcity to abundance. You're not restricting yourself, you're focusing on building that solid base. This is making me rethink things for sure.
And that's at the heart of his whole philosophy, that shift in how you see things. It's about taking control and building a life you want, on your own terms.
This is fascinating, and I know our listeners are probably ready to hear more about how to actually do that. But before we get into all that, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with more from Grant Sabatier's Financial Freedom. All right, so we're back, and we're digging into Grant Sabatier's Financial Freedom. We were talking about ditching the budget and focusing on your savings rate instead.
Yeah, it's a pretty big idea, and it really goes with his whole thing of like challenging those old money rules that might not be working anymore.
Right. He talks about how much the economy and jobs have changed. That old advice, climb the ladder, retire at 65, it's not cutting it for everyone.
Definitely not. That old way, it was for a world with like more job security, cheaper houses, all that. It's different now, and I bet a lot of our listeners are feeling that.
Totally. So what's Grant's alternative? What do we do instead of clinging to those old rules?
He's all about taking charge, even if it means doing things differently. And his step 5 is a great example. Hack your 9 to 5.
Now, I'm sure some people are thinking, I hate my job. How can I hack that?
I get it. But his point is, even if it's not your dream job right now, you can still make it work for you. He's got tips for negotiating raises, getting the most out of your benefits, even exploring working remotely.
So being proactive, sticking up for yourself, even in your current job.
Exactly. And always learning new skills so you can earn more over time, whether you stay or move on to something new.
This is hitting home for me. It's so easy to feel stuck in a job you don't like, but he's saying you have more power than you think.
It's like going from passive to active, right? You're not just waiting, you're making moves, taking charge of your career and your money.
Like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're hacking your 9 to 5, you're saving a good chunk of your income. What's next?
This is where Grant's like entrepreneurial side comes out. Step 6 is all about side hustle power. He's big on having multiple ways to make money.
And he doesn't just mean getting a second job like flipping burgers or driving for Uber, right?
No way. He wants you to think bigger, find something you're good at and actually enjoy, something that could even become your main gig eventually.
So choosing a side hustle that's both profitable and, what's that word? Scalable. I've heard it before, but what does it really mean here?
Good question. A scalable side hustle, it's one that can grow and maybe even make you money passively over time. You're not just trading hours for dollars, you're building something that works for you even when you're not working on it.
Okay, so instead of like driving for a ride-sharing app, which is limited by how much you can drive, you could create an online course that people buy, and you earn money even while you sleep.
Exactly. Perfect example. And Grant has tons of other ideas in the book, everything from freelance writing to creating digital products like ebooks and stuff.
So you found a side hustle you love, you're making extra cash. What do you do with all that money?
That leads us to the last step in his framework. Invest early and often. He really believes investing is how you build long-term wealth and get to true financial freedom.
Now, investing can be scary, especially if you're new to it. Does Grant give any advice on where to start?
Oh yeah, for sure. He breaks down all those complicated investing ideas into simple steps anyone can follow. He talks about different strategies like index funds, real estate, even starting your own business. And he's really big on starting early, even if you can only invest a little bit.
Because the sooner you start, the more time your money has to grow thanks to compound interest.
You got it. Even if you don't have much to invest right now, starting small and building that habit is key.
Okay, so we've covered Grant's 7 steps to financial freedom, which is awesome. But he also talks about 7 different levels of financial freedom too, right?
He does. He calls them the 7 levels of financial freedom. And it's interesting. It's not just about hitting some magic number. It's about the feeling of security and peace of mind you get with each level you reach.
So tell me more about these levels. What kind of freedom are we talking about at each stage?
Well, level 1, it's all about clarity. Figuring out where you're at financially, setting those goals, making a plan. It's that first step towards really understanding your money.
Okay, so it's about getting organized, setting yourself up for success. What about level 2?
Level 2 is financial self-sufficiency. This is when you're earning enough to cover all your basic costs without needing help. No more living paycheck to paycheck. You've got a solid foundation.
That's a big deal for a lot of people. What about the next level up?
Level 3 is where you start to have some breathing room. You've got an emergency fund saved up, you're paying down debt, maybe you even have some extra to invest or pursue things you're passionate about.
It's about having that cushion, knowing you can handle unexpected things or even take some risks.
Right, exactly. And as you go through these levels, that feeling of security and freedom, it just keeps growing. Level 4 is financial stability. This is when you've got a good plan for your long-term goals, like retirement or buying a house.
So you're thinking about the future, but you're not stressed about it.
Right. You're making progress and you know where you're going. Level 5 is where things get really exciting. Financial flexibility. This is where you can make choices about your work and your life without money holding you back.
So you could take a break from work, start a side hustle, even switch careers without worrying of the financial hit.
Exactly. You've got choices, and that's powerful. Level 6 is what a lot of people aim for, financial independence. This is where your investments are making enough money to cover all your living costs, and working becomes a choice, not a must.
Wait, so you're basically retired. You're free to do whatever you want.
That's the idea. You have complete control over your time and your life. And if you want to go even further, Grant talks about level 7, abundant wealth.
So that's like next level financial freedom.
It is. It's about having more than enough money for everything you need and want and using your wealth to make a difference in the world.
Wow, that's quite a journey. Where do you think most of our listeners are on this financial freedom spectrum?
It's hard to say. Everyone's different. But I'd guess a lot of people are somewhere between levels 1 and 3, working towards that security and breathing room.
And the great thing about Grant's system is that it gives you a way to move through those levels no matter where you're starting from.
It's about taking those steps, building those habits, and changing how you think about money. Believing that financial freedom is possible, even if it seems far off right now.
Speaking of believing in things, let's get back to Grant's story and how he managed to achieve so much so fast. We'll be right back with more from Financial Freedom. All right, we're back, wrapping up our deep dive into Grant Sabatier's financial freedom. It's so inspiring how he did all this in just 5 years. Crazy, right? But I bet it wasn't always easy.
Oh, definitely not. He talks about the tough parts, the mistakes, the times he wasn't sure it would work out. There's this story in the book where he lost a bunch of money on a bad investment. Early on, too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but he learned a lot from it.
I feel that. We've all had those moments where it's like 2 steps back for every step forward. But what's cool is how resilient he was. Didn't give up, just kept going.
Totally. He never stopped believing he could do it, and that's how he got through those rough patches. It shows you financial freedom isn't about being perfect. It's about having that drive to keep going, even when it's hard.
And I love that his story isn't some like get rich quick thing, no lottery win, nothing like that. He did it with hard work, smart choices, and being willing to question the usual way of doing things.
He really makes the point that financial freedom is about taking control, making good decisions, building a solid foundation. It's not about luck or who you know, it's about taking charge of your own money.
And his story is especially inspiring because he started with so little. Didn't come from money, no special connections, he built it all himself. It shows anyone can do this no matter where they start.
For sure. And another thing I like about his approach, he doesn't say you have to live like a monk or anything. He still enjoys life, going out, traveling, having fun.
Right. He's not about denying yourself everything.
It's about having the means to live a life that fits you, your values, what's important to you.
It's about choices.
Exactly. And that's what true financial freedom is, right? Not just the money itself, but what it lets you do, the choices it gives you.
It's about making a life that feels right, not just financially safe.
You got it. And I think Grant's story reminds us that financial freedom, it's not just about some number in your bank account. It's about building a life that lets you follow your passions, be with people you love, maybe even make the world a better place.
It's about living a life that has meaning, a life with purpose.
Now, before we finish up our deep dive, I want to leave you with something Grant asks in his book. He says, what would you do with your time if money wasn't an issue?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Makes you think, right? What would you actually be doing if you weren't always worried about money or stuck in a job you hate?
What would I be doing?
Would you travel the world? Finally start that business you've always thought about? Spend more time with family, friends, maybe go back to school? There are so many possibilities.
So many. And that's what's amazing about financial freedom. It's not just the money. It's what it opened up for you, the choices you can make, the life you can build.
So as you go about your day, think about that question. What would you do with your time if money was no object? Let that picture guide you as you take those steps towards your own financial freedom.
And if you're feeling inspired, ready to learn more about Grant's story and how he did it, definitely check out his book, Financial Freedom. It's full of practical tips, inspiring stories, a whole new way of looking at money, and how to have more of it.
It's a must-read for anyone who's ready to take control of their money and start building a life of freedom, a life with purpose.
And remember, that journey to financial freedom, it starts with one step. So what will your first step be? Until next time, keep diving deep and keep chasing those dreams.